Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Solar Power Portal webinar with Livoltek on the flexibility of small energy storage systems for solar. I'm John Lubbock, UK editor for Solar Power Portal. With the progress of renewable technologies over the past 2 decades, prices have fallen, first in solar and now in battery storage, making the technologies accessible to many more people. As our technological capabilities are improving, some of the drawbacks of solar are being overcome, such as its intermittency. As more products come onto the market, solar installers have much more choice than ever about what products to use, and they're increasingly facing the issue of which products to recommend to consumers who may have different needs depending on how much energy they consume or what kind of property they live or work in. Livoltek is a global solar product manufacturer and service provider and is aiming to solve this problem via its all-in-one energy storage system. The product combines a hybrid inverter and low voltage batteries to help avoid expensive load peaks by storing solar power and using it whenever needed. The hybrid inverter is slim and attractive and solves the issue of pairing compatible batteries and inverters. It's modular, meaning you can add more batteries, almost silent, and can be monitored remotely with Livoltek's app. Hybrid inverters with battery storage are relatively new in the lifespan of the solar market in the UK. Storage has only started to boom with the energy crisis in the past few years, and with the massive expansion of EVs and the rollout of chargers, installers are increasingly looking for home systems that incorporate EV charging. Technologies such as these could support the UK solar industry as it continues to move from strength to strength and bolster decarbonisation amongst both businesses and residential properties. I'm speaking today with Simon Baggaley, Country Manager for the UK and Ireland, and Dan Fisher, the UK and Ireland Technical Support Representative at Livoltek, to find out more about how battery energy storage can help capture intermittent solar generation. As always, interaction with you, the audience, is very important to us. You can put your questions to Simon in the questions tab on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll host an audience Q&A at the end of the session. We can't promise to answer all of your questions, but Livoltek will be happy to carry on chatting to you and answering your questions outside of this forum. That's enough preamble from me, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us, whether live today or on demand later, and I'd like to hand over to Simon. Take it away, Simon.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Thanks for the introduction, John. So I'm Simon Baggaley. I'm the UK and Ireland Country Manager for Livoltek. So I'm responsible for sales and marketing in the UK and Ireland and also leading the team here. Today I'm going to just take you through a bit of background on Livoltek and our company and our product range. We're going to spend most of the time talking about solar and storage and our product range and how it addresses some of the problems faced by installers and homeowners when installing solar plus storage systems in the UK and Ireland marketplaces. So just to start us off, let's have a little bit of background about Hexing Group, which is the parent company of Livoltek. So Hexing Group are a company come from a background of smart metering, smart grid, transmission and distribution, network equipment and switchgear, and have been trading since 1992. So over 30 years, 3,000 global employees, listed on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. So Livoltek is the renewable division of Hexing Group, manufacturer of solar products, primarily inverters, battery storage and EV chargers, and has been in operation since 2006 with a mission and vision of being a global provider in solar energy products. Okay, so that's who we are, and this is where we're based around the world. So operating in more than 90 countries with offices, manufacturing plants and warehouses across the world, very present in Latin America and South America historically. We have large market shares, especially in smart metering in markets like Brazil. Very active also in Africa, the Middle East and Asia. And as Livoltek entered the European markets in 2022 with the establishment of Netherlands warehouse and head office, and also service repair centres, factories planned for Portugal and Poland. So we're a global company with global support networks, and we have local teams on the ground in each geography to support the local customers. So in Spain, Portugal, Poland, Benelux, in the UK and Ireland as well, we have local representation, such as myself. Our high-tech production base and in-house test centres ensure our products are thoroughly tested. The quality control checks before each unit leaves the factory means that we can ensure product reliability, which enables best-in-class warranties. And our in-house testing ensures our product is certified in each market that we operate in. So, for example, for UK and Ireland, we have, for our all-in-one products, we have the full G98, G99, G100 and ENA certificates. And in Ireland, we have the EN 504, 50459 certificates. Let me get that right. Our product range encompasses primarily a residential focus, and now moving to a small commercial focus going into the next 12 to 24 months. So right now we offer single phase grid tied inverters for residential markets. We offer single phase hybrid inverters for residential markets paired with low voltage batteries, and 7 and 22 kilowatt EV chargers for those residential markets. Moving into the second half of 2023 and to 2024, then commercial three-phase grid-tied inverters will be released, as well as three-phase hybrid inverters and high-voltage batteries with DC 120 kilowatt peak EV chargers for commercial use also next year. So looking at our grid-tied inverters first of all, so currently we have single phase grid-tied inverters from 1.6 up to 10 kilowatts available and certified, with later on in the year three-phase grid-tied inverters from 4 up to 50 kilowatts being made available. And we're going to spend most of our time today talking about hybrid inverters because, of course, as most of you are aware, that's where the majority of the market is in UK and Ireland. And we're seeing something like 90 to 95% attachment rate of hybrid inverters with solar systems plus battery. So single phase, we have 3 to 6 kilowatt hybrid inverters available now. First, for European markets, which will include Ireland later in this year, we will have maybe as early as August and September, three-phase hybrid inverters going from 5 to 30 kilowatts. And in the UK, that will follow shortly afterwards as the certification is separate and will take slightly longer. Off-grid inverters are available in some markets around the world right now. So primarily we sell those in markets with little or access to grid, such as parts of Africa or parts of Asia. You can actually use our hybrid inverter as an off-grid solution in UK and Ireland if that's what you wanted to do. Just moving on to our battery storage. So like I say, we're going to spend most of our time talking about the residential solution today, which is the low voltage battery on the right hand side. So you can see there it says 5 to 25 kilowatt hours. It's a modular system, which I'm going to go into and explain in a bit more detail later. And that unit there represents one 5 kilowatt hour battery on that left hand side there. So you would add another 4 batteries to make it to 25 kilowatts, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through. Coming later this year, either September in Ireland or more like November, December in UK, is the high voltage battery. Each one of these modules is 5 kilowatt hour module with a battery management system on top and a base unit underneath. So this high voltage battery you're seeing here is 15 kilowatt hours. You can attach another 3 modules adjacent to that battery to make it a 30 kilowatt hour battery, and just need the one battery management system on the top of that. EV chargers from left to right, we have a residential single phase 7.3 kilowatt charger, tethered at the moment, untethered coming shortly afterwards later this year. Available now in EU and Irish markets. There was some slightly different certification for UK, and we had to get that certification upgraded with things like pen fault protection included. That has been done. We have beta test units in UK right now, and that product should be available in the next month or two to order. So we have 22 kilowatt 3-phase charger as well for commercial use. and later in the year for commercial use or PowerPoint providers, like you see on highways, garages, etc., or public places, the 120 kilowatt DC EV charger. So during our time selling solar storage inverters and batteries around the world in our key markets, we've gathered a lot of feedback from installers and also end users about what they're looking for or what sort of problems they have when they're looking to install their system. So from an installer perspective, what we hear, especially in UK and Ireland, is that there's a lot of competition and they need something in their product set that will help sell the system to end users. So it's not just a matter of some panels on the roof and an inverter and battery in the house. It has to have some functionality and quality to it that adds a bit of value and differentiates from what the competition are offering. Also, struggling sometimes to find, with the small housing we have in UK, sometimes it's difficult to find a good location for the inverter and the batteries. And they're also saying that a good warranty doesn't just give the customer peace of mind, but it's part of that feature and benefits that help them sell the system. For installers, they're also saying that, look, what we want is operational efficiency, especially in the last 3 to 6 months, where we've had tremendous backlogs due to high demand in the marketplace. We're looking to get through our installs as quickly and efficiently as possible, and we want to minimize the time on site on install day. So I'm going to go into a bit about how our system addresses those issues in a minute. But first of all, end users are also giving us some feedback. They're saying they didn't really understand until the survey was done, maybe, that they needed to find a place in the house to keep inverters or batteries. They're worried about noise and heat from the inverter. They're worried about how much space it will take and that it looks industrial and there's a lot of cabling. It doesn't look particularly tidy. They're saying for their system that they're investing a lot of money in a solar plus storage system, so they want some grid independence. What they mean by that is if they've spent 10,000, 15,000 on a solar plus storage system, they actually want it to power their house if there's a power cut in the area. They think, well, fine, power's down, but I still want my lights to work and the freezer and the Wi-Fi. Otherwise, why have I paid 10,000, 15,000 pounds for this system on the roof and the inverter and the battery? On the other hand, customers are saying, I do want battery storage because I understand the basic principle that solar systems generate power for me during daylight hours from the sun, but I actually need most of my power when it's dark in the evening. So I want some battery storage, but I don't know how much battery storage I need. Do I need a 10 kilowatt hour battery or 2 kilowatt hours or 15? It's a bit hard for them to judge. And the other thing they want to do in these times where electricity prices have been volatile and high, and a lot of the electricity companies are coming out with complex tariffs, either a basic simple 2-rate tariff with a cheap night rate or other even more complicated tariffs. The customers want their systems to be able to take advantage of that, and they want to know that if there's cheap electricity, they can make maximum use of it from that. So just a quick step back, thinking about, before I go into our solution, I just wanted to remind myself as much as anything of what a hybrid system does at the basic level. So it does exactly what I've just described. It generates power from the sunlight during the daytime, and at night time, if there's any extra power being generated that the house doesn't use in the daytime, it has been stored in the battery and is now available for the homeowner to use that power. Also, it gives the customer the ability to charge the battery from the grid during cheap electricity. And the most important part really of a hybrid system is that if there is a power cut, then they will be able to still use the power from the system. So that's what a hybrid system does. And this is our 2 versions of a hybrid system. And like I say, we're mostly going to be talking about today the single phase energy storage system on the left hand side, which is our all-in-one system. So this one shown in the image shows you an all-in-one 5 kilowatt inverter plus a 5 kilowatt hour battery, which has actually been increased on a modular basis with 2 extra batteries to a 15 kilowatt hour system. On the right hand side is a 3-phase energy storage system. So this is the one that is coming out later this year, and you can see a 3-phase hybrid inverter at the top with the modular high voltage battery system installed directly underneath it. So on to our all-in-one energy storage system. So on the right hand side, you see how the unit is mounted together. There's the inverter, the hybrid inverter is mounted on the frame at the top of the system with the battery directly underneath it. It's on a framework so that it just mounts directly on, and all the cable connections are hidden under a middle cover kit. So within that middle cover kit, you just literally connect the inputs and outputs to the inverter to the battery, and there's even room in there to put your AC isolator if you want to make your install really neat and tidy. So for the hybrid inverter, it's compatible with systems up to 7.5 kilowatt peak DC, so panels on the roof, and you can have up to 2 arrays attached to it. There's a 3 kilowatt single MPPT inverter. There's a 3.68 dual MPPT and a 5 kilowatt peak dual MPPT inverter as well. Following in the next few months for UK is a 6 kilowatt peak dual MPPT inverter, and in the Irish market we're looking at limiting that 6 kilowatt version down to 5.75 kilowatt peak to limit it to the 25 amp maximum grid input requirement they have in Ireland since 31st of May. The battery is there shown with a top cover included on it. So that top cover comes with every battery, although you don't use it if you're installing it as the all-in-one with the middle cover kit. It allows you to have neat and tidy installations for the extra batteries. Each battery also has a built-in battery management system. That means that you don't have to install a master battery followed by slave batteries, or a separate battery management system with a selection of slave batteries from it. Every battery has everything included within it, so that all you need to do is plug and play the extras to give you the option to increase from 1 battery up to 5 batteries, so you can choose 5, 10, 15, 20 or 25 kilowatt hours with the system. Just go some of the key benefits of the inverter first of all. So I mentioned in the previous slide it can be installed up to 7.5 kilowatt peak DC connected to the panels on the roof. That's because it's 150% DC to AC ratio. So with our 5 kilowatt inverter you can go up to 7.5 kilowatt of PV panels. So in the morning, in the afternoon, under lower light conditions, you'd be optimizing the power from the 7.5 kilowatts or whatever that could be generated. And when it's actually generating at full power at lunchtime at 7.5 kilowatts, the extra goes into the battery. So you're never wasting any power with this system. So it's a smart design. You've seen from the pictures, and the feedback that we're getting from customers, installers and end users is that they love how compact and slim it is and aesthetically pleasing it is. Also plug and play, so all of the installers are in the box. You don't have to order anything else other than all-in-one system. It just all comes for you. We mentioned before that customers wanted the power to stay on in a power cut, so this has an emergency power supply function, so it will seamlessly switch selected circuits to backup power from battery or the solar when the customer gets a power cut. Just need to add some of the circuits to the EPS connection on the inverter to enable that to happen, and then the customer's fridge, lights, Wi-Fi can stay on. So easy commissioning. You'll see later when we're showing a quick video, how easy it is to set up and commission the system. It's set up in the app in advance by the installer, and when you're on site, you simply scan a QR code into the app to set up the device on the app. Feedback we're getting from installers and end users is they're very impressed with how quietly it runs. It has a natural cooling force dissipation heat system. That means it doesn't need a fan, and it does run very, very quietly. That's the sort of thing you'll find out when you do your first install, or you ask your distributor to come and see a test system. You'll see how quietly it runs. It's got all the necessary protections, SPD3 surge protection. All the details of that are available in the product sheet. It even comes with a built-in DC isolator to reduce your install and labor costs. It's IP65, so you could install it outdoors if you like, and it has a 10-year product warranty. Okay, I'm just going to take a breath and move on to the battery. So here's the battery. It's a lithium iron phosphate cell battery. So compared to the other battery technologies, that's a safer solution, longer lifespan, and has a wider operating temperature. So the 100 amp discharge current means that you get a usable 4.5 kilowatts from the battery. So some of our competitors only have a 50 kilowatt amp discharge, which means you'll perhaps only get 2.5 kilowatts from that. So you've got usable power from the battery because of that 100 amp discharge, or the homeowner has. So I've mentioned already that it's smart design and plug and play, built-in BMS and top covers included, and it has the user-defined modes for battery optimization. So what that means is the consumer can decide whether they want to optimize the battery so that they're using as much as possible renewable power in their home, or they can set times for battery charge and discharge based on tariffs, or they can make sure the battery's as full as possible at all times. It's modular, which we've mentioned a few times, which is a key benefit of this system. You can just add batteries whenever you go back to sites after the initial install and add more batteries if the customer wants it. It has all the protections that you would expect to need. You can refer again to the product sheet to see the protections that are built in for it, and built-in DC isolator again, so you don't have to install a separate DC isolator for this battery solution. Again, IP65 water and dust proof. So the first version of this was IP21. In the warehouse in Rotterdam now, we do have IP65 batteries that can be installed outdoors, and it has a 10-year warranty, which is a 6,000 cycle warranty at 90% depth of discharge. So here's a quick slide which shows you how simple it is to add the modular batteries. So on the left hand side you can see how they're connected. So each battery simply has a red and a black power cable that joins them together, just a plus and a minus cable, and then there's a dotted line which represents the comms cable, which allows the inverter to control all the batteries simultaneously. So it's just 3 things to plug in on each one. Now you'll see on the picture that you can't see any cables between the batteries and the inverter. That's because they're hidden in the top covers. So there's outlets and inlets in the top cover and the middle cover so that you can hide all the cabling. You can install them, as you can see, either side or next to the battery, as in this picture. So it's a nice tidy install. And here's some more pictures of installs that have been done in the UK and Irish markets. Some examples of installing outdoors, and you can see how slim and aesthetic they look, and neat and tidy those installs are. At the bottom left you can see some installs that have been done inside and in small spaces, so things like loft spaces or cupboards in kitchens or utility rooms. You can see how it could fit into there. And then on the right hand side you can see that the batteries have been installed either side by side in those scenarios or vertically. So with the middle picture, it's a 5 kilowatt peak inverter with 10 kilowatt hours battery. In this one, it has been installed slightly separate from each other. So you can see where the cable joins between the top cover of the battery and the middle cover of the all-in-one system. But of course, if you go adjacent to it and don't leave the gap, you won't see that cable there at all. Just to show you really how the cables do flow. And then this install has been done with one battery side by side and then another one above that, and they've used conduit to hide the cable run. So that one's a 15 kilowatt hour battery. So we have a smart energy management system that comes with all our products. It's an app or a website monitoring platform that installers, distributors and end users all have their own level view of. So as an end user, you have an app that shows you the unit that you've got installed and the power flows to and from it. So you see power flow to and from the solar PV on the roof. You see power flow to and from the battery storage, power flow to and from your home load, and power flow to and from your grid. And you also see the EV charger if you have one of those connected. So there's reporting. So as well as seeing the live flows, you also see historical flows and charts for your home generation and consumption. And you can set intelligent electric vehicle charging schedules if you have an EV charger connected. So you can choose to charge your car at certain times of day according to your electricity tariff. And those time of day functionalities also allow you to minimize your grid import costs. So you can set your battery to charge, discharge or hold according to whatever your electricity prices are at that time of day. So just a bit of a recap there on the things that installers and end users told us about the product and the install of it. So we've got there, I think we've answered the questions about the features and benefits and the location of the system, both for the installer finding somewhere to put the system and the end users' concerns about the noise and the heat. It's a very simple, quick install. So the installer has limited time on site during the day, and it's ticked the boxes for the customer in terms of the EPS system, giving them the power during a power cut and the modular ability to add batteries at a later date if they need to. And it's got that usable power because of the 100 amp discharge.
Thanks very much for that, Simon. I'm just going to jump in and ask a couple of follow-up questions. First of all, what if the end user doesn't know if they need storage at all?
Yeah, so that is quite a common question from customers in Ireland especially. So in the Irish market, the export rate that you get paid from sending power back to the grid is much higher than the maybe only 5 pence per kilowatt hour you get in UK, and it could be 20 pence per kilowatt hour. So because they get paid more from sending back to the grid, they're not sure if it makes sense to have battery storage or just send the power back to the grid. And there are some customers in UK market who aren't sure if they actually need battery storage to start with. So in that case, you would just install the hybrid inverter by itself, and then you would leave space underneath it if you thought the customer might want to come back at a later date and add a battery. So it's fairly straightforward.
And secondly, can you explain a little bit more about the advantages of the 100 amp discharge?
Yeah, sure. So what happens there is that with a 100 amp discharge, you're maximizing the power capability of the battery. So power is a function of amps and voltage. So kilowatts equals amps times voltage. So a lot of our competitors have a 50 amp discharge from the battery. So that, as you can see, if ours is 100, that means they'll get half as much power from the battery at a given moment in time. So if a 5 kilowatt hour battery was installed and only had a 50 amp discharge capability, then you maybe only get 2 to 2.5 kilowatts from the battery live when you need it. So let's say at home you've put the kettle on and you've also got the microwave on and your dishwasher or something, you might only get a small proportion or 40% of your power from your battery, and the rest might have to come from grid. Whereas with a 100 amp discharge, you'll get best part of 4.5, 5 kilowatts out of your system live, and it will power all those things at once. So it just gives you more power when you need it.
That's great. Thanks very much, Simon. And now I think we're going to go to Daniel.
Well, actually, I'm just going to show this slide before we go to Daniel. Thanks, John. For those of you wondering where to get the product from or where to buy from, there's a page on our website called Where to Buy, and all the distributors that have our product in stock are available are shown there. That's updated regularly when new distributors come on board and have our product in stock. So you can see currently there. And if you click on our website, you can go through, click links, and it takes you through to the distributors, and you can see their website and their contact information. Also, we've started an approved installer scheme. So if you're an installer looking to know more about the installation side and the monitoring side and the app, then you can sign up for more detailed free training, which is in person and is 2 to 3 hours long. We've started to set up a series of those training sessions. There's 2 planned next week with distributor partners, and then there's more to follow later in the year. So keep your eye on that scheme as well. For homeowners, if you'd like details of approved installers in your area, have a look at the contact pages on our website and get in touch. We'll be happy to find an approved installer in your area. And now I will hand over to Dan in technical support.
Hi everybody, I'm Dan, your UK and Ireland technical support representative. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief installation of our all-in-one hybrid system. Now, to start off with, I will show you a very short video of an overview of the installation and how it's achieved. So as far as the installation goes, it's a very simple and quick process, with some installers completing commissioning in under an hour with no professional tools needed. The ideal location for our inverters is out of direct sunlight and heavy rain. Moisture and dust is less of a worry as the system is IP65 rated. For ease of installation, we've provided everything you need within the installation kits with very minimal assembly required. You'll even receive the expansion bolts to mount your bracket onto the wall with a bit of confidence as well. The all-in-one bracket is designed specifically to ease the process of the installation for you, whilst trying to keep everything nice and tidy inside. The inverter plug-and-play system was designed specifically to save installation time and give a neat and tidy route for all the cable management as well. And the side panels are there to give you that nice, neat and tidy, keep all the wires concealed. So there's 2 types of methods the inverter can read the house load. One is a CT it's a current transformer fitted as a clamp at the house meter, or if the distance is over 50 meters, you can use a chint meter if required. The battery connection is nice and straightforward. Positive and negative cables with retaining clips so they don't fall off and can't be pulled off nice and easy. Cat 5e cable to let the battery management communicate as well. Solar array inputs are nice and easy as well. Rule of thumb, we always try and split the wattage between both MPPTs for optimal performance. Once the installation is complete, only a few more steps. Turn on all the hardware and refer to the green LED screen for verification. Last step that we've got here is the installation. Last step of the installation process is the migration onto the monitoring system, which is done via intuitive mobile application where tariffs can be inserted, currencies set up, as well as schedules inserted as well for charge, discharge, and hold times. So looking at what the installers and end users wanted from our solar units, easy commissioning, system management, and a control via an all-in-one app, and of course, peace of mind solution for fault rectification. With a monitoring system which allows the homeowner to see live data such as solar array input, battery levels, house load, and grid export data with a savings chart as well, showing currencies so the homeowner can sit there smiling as the inverter pulls in that crucial data and energy. The monitoring system can also show error codes, fault reports, giving you guys, the installers, the upper hand on rectifying the issue before the customer even notices they've got a problem, whilst also giving the installer the option to update the inverter remotely or amend any settings from the comfort of your office. The inverter has many modes available. Self-use is the default, using the harvested solar energy to feed the load into your house and the battery before exporting it down to the grid. Self-define mode puts you in control and is mainly used to take advantage of the low-cost energy tariffs by giving the ability to specify charge, hold, and discharge times. Backup mode will instantly throw the inverter into charge mode, taking energy from the solar array and the grid to make sure that you've got a full battery in case of a blackout, keeping your crucial appliances and lighting running for longer. Finally, we have 3 EV charge modes you can select via the app. Fast charge, that will use stored energy alongside main supply to get your vehicle charged as fast as possible. Eco mode allows you to stay green, only using the solar array harvested energy alongside your stored battery energy. Finally, a self-define mode where you can pick and choose the perfect charging times paired with the self-define mode on the inverter to make the most of those low-cost energy tariffs. So, with an industry-leading 10-year warranty for our hybrid inverters and batteries, it takes the worry away from the customer being left in the dark with no support. This, paired with our 10-year and 6,000 cycle performance warranty, gives confidence in our product. With myself and the UK support team, you will have UK-based support staff available within your time zone. No worries about being stuck at 5 p.m. at the customer's house on a Friday with no help at hand. We will be there. You can contact the team via our phone number shown on the slide, as well as the email address. This can also be found on the website as well. So, what have we provided for the installers and end users? A quick installation and support package, a fast responding fault alert system to keep things running smoothly, where in many cases a phone diagnosis and repair can be achieved, an up-to-date and improving phone application that can help the customer control and see all the data needed when harvesting and using stored energy for general use and electric vehicle charging. Finally, a strong UK-based support team to provide assistance to installers and end users, relieving the need to panic.
Thanks very much, Daniel. Can I ask a couple of follow-up questions? Firstly, about the warranty and what it covers.
Yep, so we offer a 10-year product warranty on our inverter and battery, whilst also giving a 10-year 6,000 cycle performance warranty on the battery at 70% of its original operating level from new. We also run on a swap and replace basis, so if the fault can't be rectified remotely, we will sort out a call-out fee for the installers, and we will arrange the collection and replacement with distributors.
And on that remote monitoring, what kind of issues can installers identify and fix without having to go to the site?
Yep, so on the system, we have got a live fault reporting system set in place that tests all protocols continuously and will help by giving you guys the fault and also some troubleshooting advice to get you back up and running ASAP, and again, all from the comfort of your offices.
Thank you very much, Daniel and Simon, for that presentation. So now we're going to go to the Q&A, and we've got quite a lot of questions already. So perhaps Simon, we could start with the question on costs for the system. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, so we have been asked about the price range of the all-in-one system. So that's something that we don't set a particular market price for installers or end users. So what we do is we make sure we have a really competitive price for distributors, and then each distributor will set their sale price according to their own business model. So just so that you're aware, we have pitched this to be, whilst it's a value product that has a lot of value in terms of its install time and its features and benefits, it is pitched at a very competitive level. So compared to some of the competitors you might be used to dealing with, it's well worth a look for the price. So I would encourage you to approach one of the distributors on the list and request pricing from them.
So then we're going to go to another question from one of our viewers who says, if I have a homeowner that has a dynamic electricity rate contract, can he A, manually control the system to take advantage of those price points, and B, how many cycles can he run per day?
Okay, so they can run as many cycles per day as they want, and yes, within the self-define mode in the inverter settings, the homeowner can choose when to charge the battery, discharge the battery, or even hold the battery so that it stays full, ready for discharge at a certain time. So all that is well within the homeowner's control. It's very simple to do, either from the phone or from the monitoring platform.
That's on a 24-hour schedule as well, so every hour can be manipulated for charge, hold, and discharge.
And can you also address why is the footprint for the high voltage module so much larger than the low voltage unit?
It actually isn't. So the high voltage modules that I was showing was actually 3 high voltage modules all stacked together. So you on the picture, maybe I can flick back to the picture and just show that on the screen. What you're looking at here, that's a 15 kilowatt hour low voltage system, and it's also compared to a 15 kilowatt high voltage system. So each of these horizontal modules is a high voltage 5 kilowatt hour battery module, whereas each of the low voltage ones is 5 kilowatt hours. So it's not actually a bigger footprint, it's a smaller one because it's high voltage.
Thank you very much for that. Next question. If you were to use these on a 200 kilowatt hour system in an office space, would you be able to stack the batteries? Would there be issues related to heat and airflow required to keep the stacked batteries cool?
So that would be a question for our batteries, the high voltage batteries, when they're released later in the year, and if they can be connected in parallel. So I think that's the one we'll come back to the questioner on and send a response directly, John, to that one.
All right. Next question is, on the concept of future upgrades, how does the system deal with voltage differences between new batteries and the older degraded batteries? Will this lead to significant efficiency reduction? Dan, can you pick that one up?
Yep. So the product as we've got, so we're looking on it's having a 70% usage still at 10 years down the line. So the actual degradation is going to be so minimal on our future view. So adding new batteries, nice and easy. We can just daisy chain those together. Now the system will notice that, and it will level off the batteries. And then once they'll then charge everything back up to 100%. And then they'll start to trickle down nicely from there. So they will level themselves out nicely using the BMS.
That's great. Thank you very much. Next question is, your illustrations show battery storage inside the house. Do you have any reservations about this regarding potential fire hazards?
So I will say no, because it's got the built-in cooling, and also the protections are fully there in the battery, so if it gets to over hot, then it cuts off. Can you add any more technically to that, Dan?
Yep. So it has got basically a TOC inside of it. So if it hits a certain temperature, it will completely isolate itself and just turns itself into a little bit of a concealed unit. Now, looking at testing it against sort of high temperatures, like I say, when we try not to get them in direct sunlight, but if there's flamed up to the battery, I believe that the casing that we've got set in place will sufficient to withstand for the time that the person needs to get out of the property or out of the area, instead of it being combustible straight away.
Could you also maybe talk about what is there a price difference or advantage over a separate inverter and battery system?
Yes, so that does depend on the manufacturer. So you certainly have an install advantage by going for an all-in-one system, because you don't have to research compatibility before quoting for it, or B, figure out how to connect one manufacturer's system to another manufacturer's system. Yeah, and then back to the price question. Unfortunately, I can't say what retail prices are for installers or homeowners, but you will find our product competitive. So if you were to compare our product to a manufacturer who offers an inverter and a battery, or two systems where there's a separate inverter and a battery storage, it will be competitive. Of course, it's a value solution, it's a quality solution. So we're not saying it's the cheapest in the market, but we're saying overall, with a competitive price point to buy it, the fact that it's easy, fast to install and has great functionality, it will provide tremendous value to you as an installer selling it to homeowners and to the homeowner themselves.
One of the viewers asks, is the accredited installer training going to be available in Ireland as well?
Yes, it is.
That's great. Next question. Do you have any software that can help to calculate how many PV modules I can connect in a string to one MPP?
Go on, Simon.
I was going to say we don't have software, but it's part of our installer training that Dan does deliver. So send us a question and we're happy to help. So like our technical support team are available to advise on design questions. So if you've got a system that you need some design advice on, feel free to give Dan a call or the team a call, drop us an email, and we'll happily give you that advice.
And just to add to that, so as a bit of a rule of thumb, between the two hybrid systems that we've got out in the market at the minute, the 3.6 and 5, the 3.6, they've got a max wattage of around 5,520 watts peak for the MPPTs. Now, we split those between the two, so 2,760 kilowatts per MPPT. That'll give you the most optimal performance on the 3.6. The 5 gives you 7,500, which we again split in half, 3,750 watts per MPPT, which you can roughly do the calculations with your, which will be on the side of the solar panel itself or the PV module itself. And we've also got data as well on our inverters that we can share, so you can make sure that they are compatible, right amperages and wattage.
Thanks very much for that, Dan. What is the lead time on a standard 5 kilowatt battery and inverter?
So if you're an installer looking to buy one from one of the distributors, you should be able to get one next working day, or from some of them, or a few working days. So they're available in stock in UK and Ireland right now.
And I suppose related to that, where are they manufactured?
So they're manufactured in China at our Chinese manufacturing base.
Thanks very much for that. Another one of the viewers asks, in South Africa, the regulatory authority recommends certain brands. Is your brand listed in this market?
Yes, so we're very active in the South African market. We have full certification, and we have a local team in South Africa. I think they may be based out of Cape Town. So we're well represented there. And I think there's even a dedicated website for our South African team as well that the viewer can refer to. We'll send that over following the webinar.
Thanks very much. Can you explain how you would recommend the size of the all-in-one system to satisfy the current electricity demand to go off-grid for residential and commercial properties?
I'm not sure I quite follow the question there on that one, John.
So I guess this question is about how you would recommend the right number of batteries for the particular residential or commercial user who wanted to go, I suppose, completely off-grid. I think this question is so I'm guessing this is maybe somebody who's potentially in an area where
completely off-grid,
where there might be power outages as well. So
yeah, okay. So again, that's something that for a given usage case, then I'd ask them to refer to our design team, our technical support team, who would advise on that. I think it's a function of the properties requirements in terms of and how long they'd expect to run off grid for, and also if they are completely off grid, what their alternative fuel source would be, diesel generator, for example, and how that would work into the system. So I think, again, I refer back to it's something we can offer advice on a case-by-case basis.
Thanks very much. Next question. Is it polystring east to west in one MPP, or is polystring east to west in one MPP connection possible for inverters?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but I think each MPPT has to have an array that faces the same direction. So I don't,
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And like I say, what we always try to do is we'll split whichever you've got on the roof, no matter location, we always try and split the wattage between the two, and then the inverter will do the rest.
Thanks very much. What are the advantages of high voltage batteries, and when do we need to use them?
So the high voltage batteries are used for three-phase installations. So that's for commercial applications that are connected to grid, three-phase as opposed to single phase. So our energy storage system, low voltage, pairs the single-phase hybrid inverter for residential properties to our low voltage batteries, and the energy storage system for commercial properties, which is paired with a three-phase inverter, is our high voltage system. So it's for three-phase systems.
Thanks very much. I think even I know the answer to this question, but is the storage system DC coupled, and can you maybe explain the advantages of that?
So a little bit, if I might jump in. So we take massive advantage of taking the DC directly from the solar panels down into the battery before it goes through the inverter back out to AC. This hopefully reduces a bit of usage power as well, so we're not having to convert from DC back down to AC, back down to DC, then back out again to AC. So we go directly from the PVs down to the battery, through the DC, into the inverter, back out as AC, saving a lot of money as well.
Thank you very much. And a couple of slightly related questions about off-grid usage. If you were to run completely off-grid, would the lithium-ion batteries still be suitable? And can your systems be used as an off-grid application in general?
So I think for the answer to the question, it does refer to specialist system design. So completely off grid, you would need some other form of power supply as well as solar. So yes, they can. We'd ask to get involved in the design of that system just to advise on that.
A specific generator is needed as well for that backup. So at the moment, obviously, once we've roughly worked with the team on the site and what we know what they need, we can obviously advise the best form of generator to go for.
And is the LV 48 volts?
It's 51 volts. So I haven't got the product sheet in front of me, but I believe it's 51.
Correct. Yeah, 51 volts.
That's great. I think we've actually covered pretty much all of the questions that have been asked. I'm just looking back through some of them to see if there's any ones that we haven't covered, just to make sure that we've covered everybody's questions. But I think that we kind of have. Somebody asked how compatible are the systems with backup diesel generators on commercial scales? I guess this is also maybe to do with off-grid.
Yeah, it's back to that question. Yeah. So we can get in touch with the viewer and advise them directly on that.
And I think, yeah, there's some other questions about, I'm interested to find out about costs, return on investment. What evidence can you show on a homeowner's likely savings? I mean, maybe this is something for afterwards that you'd need to kind of email the person about specifically.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that, John.
Okay, great. Well, we've had a couple more questions. Are there any compatibility issues with panel optimizers to Livoltek inverters?
So no, they should work fine with the likes of your Tego or your Solar Edge optimizers, that sort of thing. Yep.
And somebody who's from Brazil says, can you give me any more details about the parallel operation of the off-grid inverter through the dry contract?
Okay. Again, John, I think that's something back to our specialist design team.
Okay. We will get back to that person. Lots of interesting questions about off-grid usage. So I wonder if that's a trend that we're going to see in the solar space. Maybe it's something I can write about for Solar Power Portal at some point. Yeah, if anybody's doing some off-grid living, please get in contact and let us know. I think we are going to wrap it up there. Oh, one more question, perhaps. Can a small rooftop wind turbine be connected to the battery alongside the PV?
Wind turbines operate slightly differently in terms of their electricity output than PV. So I understand from having been asked this question before that there is a technical solution to it, but it's not just a straightforward plug and play into the inverter. So something I can advise on.
Just adding on to obviously other ways of saving the energy, as well as the iBoost systems that I've been asked quite a lot whether or not can be ran with as well. So obviously when the power drops down, it takes advantage of for heating water. These are fully compatible as well, and are just fitted is in normal, and they will work as per usual.
And maybe one last question: can two hybrid inverters be cascaded, 5 kilowatt and a 3 kilowatt, for example?
We try and run, if we were going to put two inverters together, we always try and keep them the same kilowattage. They communicate a lot better that way. So in terms of that, I'd always recommend the same kilowatt to be working together.
And will the all-in-one unit only be available in a 3.6 kilowatt and a 5 kilowatt, or will it be at a later date with a 3 and a 6?
Yeah, so it's already available as a 3, a single MPPT version, and the 6 kilowatt is coming out later this year.
Great. That is all of the questions covered, I think. So thank you so much to Livoltek and all of our attendees. The presentation slides and recording will be available online within the next week. And yeah, I'd just like to say that, new technologies like hybrid inverters with battery storage represent a really important development in renewable technology, helping to solve problems like intermittency. I think, for me writing about this sector, there's so much new technology coming into the market all the time. It can be quite complex and confusing to know what you need, how it all fits together, and what the best systems are for a particular need and use case. And so, this technology is advancing so quickly that a lot of the public, I think, are also probably not aware about the possibilities for decarbonizing their homes and commercial businesses. And I think, we all have a kind of a role in helping to educate people and get over some of the residual reluctance to abandon fossil fuels and speed up the uptake of these technologies, which offer us energy independence from the grid and energy security from the fluctuations of geopolitics like the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us. And as I said, please feel free to contact Livoltek and any other questions you'd like them to answer. Thank you from the team here at Solar Power Portal. And we hope you all have a fantastic day. And join us again for another one of our future webinars, which you can find out about by subscribing to our newsletter and visiting our website. So thank you all very much, and hope to see you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.